The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
The question is on the adoption of the resolution. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Gentleman from Georgia.
I ask for a recorded vote.
Does the gentleman ask for the yeas and nays?
Yeas and nays.
On this vote, the yeas are 228, the nays are 193. The resolution is adopted, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
This is about the Constitution of the United States, and it's important for the president to know, and Putin to know, the American voters in America should decide who our president is, not Vladimir Putin in Russia. So today I'm very proud to present the managers who will bring the case, which we have great confidence in terms of impeaching the president and his removal. But this further evidence insists that, and we wouldn't be in this situation had we not waited, insist that there be witnesses and that we see documentation. And now you see some of that change happening on the Senate side. I hope it does for the good of our country and to honor our Constitution.
Why didn't we wait to get more testimony? Well, we have sought McGahn's testimony, Don McGahn, the president's lawyer, since April of last year. We still don't have a final court judgment. So, yes, we could have waited years to get testimony, further testimony from all the people the president has been obstructing. But essentially, that would completely negate the impeachment power. That is, allow the president, by virtue of obstruction, to prevent his own impeachment. And that was an unacceptable course, particularly when the whole object of the president's scheme was to cheat in the election.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, that sounds weird. Yeah, we're having a little difficulty here with the mic. Wait, let me, yeah. Wow, that sounds, no, it's on and off. No, I'm not good. All right, so it's Wednesday, and my hair is dirty, and my mic doesn't work, and that's because there's so much freaking news that we're overloaded with, just stuff. This is the most amazing thing in the world, okay? So last night, did you watch the debate? I don't know if you did or not. You know what? The debate just laid there. And I'm going to tell you why the debate just laid there. The debate just laid there because there were too many things not discussed. And the things that were not discussed last night was breaking news. It was documents that were released, documents that had been subpoenaed by the House for Lev Parnas's documents. You remember I talked to you about this before. You remember I told you Lev Parnas said that, you know who Lev Parnas is, right? Lev Parnas is an associate of Rudy Giuliani's, okay? And Lev Parnas is a Russian-born, I guess he's, I don't know what to call him. He's an operator. I need to put the condom back on. Yeah. Well, okay. So Lev Parnas is a Russian-born operator. I don't know what else to call him. Okay, and he is under arrest. Okay, he is under arrest with his partner Igor Fruman for funneling Russian money into the 2020 election coffers. Okay, so that's why he's under arrest. Now, prior to his arrest, it was known to the House that Parnas was working with Rudy Giuliani on some damn thing in Ukraine. And the more they looked at it and the more they understood it, the more they wanted to see Lev Parnas's documents. So back in the day, believe it or not, they subpoenaed Parnas's documents in September of 2019. The House Select Committee on Intel, Schiff, subpoenaed Lev Parnas for documents. And Lev Parnas, apparently at that time, was being represented by Donald Trump's ex-attorney, John Dowd, who understood what Lev Parnas had would damage the president in the case of the Ukrainian extortion. So Dowd fought that subpoena. And he communicated to Adam Schiff that Parnas would not comply with the congressional subpoena. On October 9th, Lev Parnas was detained because SDNY had issued a warrant for his arrest because they had evidence that he was funneling foreign money into the 2020 campaign. The next day, on October 10th, the committee issued another subpoena to compel Parnas to produce records that were relevant to the Ukraine inquiry. And after Parnas was arrested, he changed counsel. He fired the president's attorney, John Dowd, hired some other guy named Bondi, and told the committee, told Adam Schiff's committee, I'll comply. So that's where the reporting started, where we were able to tell you that Lev Parnas said that he had audio tape, videotape, documents, and text messages that showed that Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump were working together to extort Ukraine, and that they were hunting, that they were trying to get rid of Marie Yovanovitch, the ambassador, because she was a true corruption fighter, and she was in the way that Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman had this idea that they would be put on this board of a gas company called Naftogaz. I think I'm the only person that ever brought up Naftogaz to you. And that's what they wanted in exchange for doing this. Rudy Giuliani was getting paid by Parnas and Fruman like $500,000, and Trump wanted dirt on Biden, and Rudy was affecting that by going to the dirty prosecutors, Victor Shokin and Mr. Lutz. I told you they were bad guys, right? So now, all of a sudden, we have all these documents released last night, right ahead of two things on the TV, right? Two things were on the TV. You had Donald Trump in Milwaukee going off on toilets and showers. I swear to God, he did a good solid 10 minutes on toilets and showers and bathtubs and sinks, and oh my God, and people literally just drink this Kool-Aid. They just like, yeah, we hate toilets. Yeah, we hate low pressure. I don't even know what the hell that was about. Okay, and so that was going on. Then you had the Democratic debate that began in a very small little theater in Des Moines, where they had the candidates stand on the stage for like 5 minutes doing absolutely no before they actually went live. And then the debate started, and no one was asked about these documents, and that is why the debate just laid there. It seemed like the media and the it seemed like the candidates were actually debating with the pundits, with the media, with the Wolf Blitzers and the Abby, whatever. I mean, it was just very odd. It just felt completely avoidant. Do you know? I can't explain it to you, but the documents are explosive.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
The House Intelligence Committee, that would be, of course, the committee that held the impeachment inquiry, that interviewed the witnesses. That committee just released an incredibly incriminating cache of documents from Rudy Giuliani's indicted associate, Lev Parnas. And we told you yesterday that those documents were transmitted over to the House. And tonight, just in the past couple hours, really, we got a small group of them. And we've been going through them and digesting just how explosive and wild the stuff in there is. They include the following: handwritten notes from Lev Parnas on a Ritz-Carlton hotel notepad from Vienna, the first of which reads, I'm not making this up, "Get Zelensky to announce that the Biden case will be investigated." Those are presumably directions he got from someone, or his agenda was remarkably similar to the president's stated agenda. The documents include an absolute crazy, and I mean just crazy, text conversation between Lev Parnas and a new character, a guy who we did not know before tonight, named Robert Hyde. We think he appears to be running for Congress in Connecticut's 5th District. And these text conversations, again, if they're to be read correctly, are absolutely chilling. They basically have a conversation about the security of the then U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch. And the texts appear to suggest that Robert Hyde, a guy who is running for Congress in Connecticut, who is a big Trump supporter, who's been photographed with the president multiple times, that Hyde was tracking every movement of the ambassador. I'm going to quote a few of them here. She's talked to 3 people. Her phone is off. Computer is off. How does he know that? She's next to the embassy. If you want her out, they need to make contact with security forces. We're going to have a lot more of those texts on that particular topic because it's really almost unbelievable. The text and the documents also includes an email from the president's current lawyer, Jay Sekulow, who's set to be representing the president in the well of the Senate, to the president's old lawyer, John Dowd, telling him explicitly, quote, "The president consents to allowing your representation of Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman." If all the photos of Lev Parnas and Donald Trump side by side were not enough proof for you, this email basically shows the president knows exactly who Lev Parnas is, and he knew that his former lawyer was going to represent him. Those are just the highlights.
This is so horrifying, because what this shows is that Rudy Giuliani was interested in getting somebody to stalk Maria Yovanovitch, to intimidate her, or to follow her every movement in order to kill her. Because in the documents, and this, I don't know why they didn't cover it, but this is page 21 of the documents. Brett, you could show the documents here. These are just the sickest. And let me just tell you this, okay? Fox News was sitting there waving around the little notes that were taken on a notepad in the Ritz-Carlton in Vienna. And they were saying, oh, it's just scribbles on a notepad. It's not even dated. What does this prove? Here's what it proves, Lala. Text messages do not lie. Text messages are dated. Text messages are what they are. They don't have politics. They don't have any agenda. They are what they are. That's why documents, that's why text messages, that's why letters are important to the trial of the president. That's why Mitch McConnell doesn't want these. You know, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, my God, if this is the stuff that the House... Oh my God. All right. So if that's the stuff that the House has been looking at, why didn't they just, go over there with the sergeant at arms and remove the president physically? Because look at these text messages. This is so sick. Okay. It starts here. These are text messages from a new guy. We have a new douche. We have like Mr. Pink now in the Reservoir Dogs script. Okay, his name is Robert Hyde, and he's literally a guy who's been Baker acted in Florida. What does Baker acted mean? It means he was picked up at the Trump Doral resort for being a danger to himself and others, and was hospitalized for 9 days. Okay, because he was super paranoid, and he was saying, they're going to kill me. They're going to kill me, and blah, 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 and I'm in trouble, and there's text. This is such a sick story. But anyway, this guy, Robert Hyde, is, a guy who's running for Congress as a Republican in Connecticut, and was also Baker acted last summer, taken out of the Trump Doral Resort Hotel, but is working with Lev Parnas, Rudy Giuliani, Victoria Tensing, and Jay Sekulow, John Dowd, stalking Marie Yovanovitch, and, texting it to Lev Parnas. These are the texts between them. He says, the guys over there asked me what I would like to do and what's in it for them. This is this crazy guy, Robert Hyde. Wake up, Yankees man. She's talked to 3 people. Her phone is off, computer is off. They're talking about Marie Yovanovitch. She's next to the embassy. Not in the embassy. Private security, been there since Thursday. And then Lev Parnas texts back to this guy, Robert Hyde. Interesting. Robert Hyde says, they know she's a political puppet. They will let me know when she's on the move. They will let me know when she's on the move. Lev Parnas texts back and says, perfect. He says, I mean, where if they can find out? That address I sent you checks out. It's next to the embassy. And then there's this text. This is the most chilling thing I've ever seen in my life. They are willing to help if you would like a price. That is like contracting for a hit. And then he says, guess you can do anything in the Ukraine with money, what I was told. And Lev Parnas texts back, LOL. LOL. And then he says, update. She will not be moved. Special security unit upgraded force on the compound. People are already aware of the situation. My contacts are asking, what is the next step? Because they can't keep going to check people. They will start to ask questions. If you want her out, they need to make contact with security forces. From Ukraine. What's the word, bro? Any good stuff? And Lev Parnas texts, call you soon in the studio. Now, that seems to me to be a reference to being in Fox News' studio, because in the following texts, they text John Solomon's BS articles to Sean Hannity, to Lala Ingram. And then you have Robert Hyde saying, RG was good, but Ingram had some hard questions. Nothing has changed. She is still not moving. They checked today again. Hi, buddy. It's confirmed. We have a person inside. And Lev Parnas starts texting all of these Hill articles from John Solomon, and they're commenting, nice, nice. Hey, broski, tell me what we're doing. And then they text some more of the Hill articles. I mean, it's so sick. To Sean Hannity, to Laura Ingram, and to Dan Bongino.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. All right, so I want to explain, like, so many things are happening. It's crazy. The debate was the debate last night, and I got news for you. It wasn't gripping for me. And I like these debates. I like them a lot because I like to hear our issues spoken about. I like to hear the healthcare issues spoken about. I like to hear about war and peace. I like to hear about whether they would leave troops or not leave troops. I like to hear about, Bernie voted against the war and Biden voted for. And these are issues that each and every primary voter is going to have to weigh for themselves. And they're going to have to vote, and we're going to get to vote soon. And that's the beauty part, okay? February 3rd, again, Iowa will caucus. Weird way to vote. You got to be there in person. You can't, no secret ballot. Got to stand in the corner in a round room. I don't know. It's crazy. And then February 11th, you have New Hampshire. And then shortly after that, you have Nevada. And then shortly after that, you have South Carolina. And then March 3rd, it's going to come on you like a speeding freight train, okay? It's just going to woo. That's Super Tuesday. And we will know pretty much where we're at. And we will know pretty much what direction, which nominees are going in. Are they going to seize enough delegates to become is it going to be a battle? And so I'll leave that for then, okay? Because I don't even pick a candidate in the primary. I just don't. I tell you, fall in love during the primary, fall in line. But that debate last night laid there because they did not ask about breaking freaking news that clearly has text messages that are asking, how much do you want to kill Marie Yovanovitch? How much do you want to kill? How much to kill her? This is so sick. And this is Rudy Giuliani's associate, who's now an arrested dude, who was headed on a one-way ticket to Vienna. You got Victoria Tensing's name brought up in this mess because she was representing a Russian oligarch named Dmitry Firtash, who is trying to avoid being extradited to the United States to stand trial for bribery. Same thing the president's being accused of, bribery. And nobody had the temerity to ask any of our Democratic candidates about this. Now, I will say it's time now to go do a flashback from those hearings that were held in the House with witnesses and cross-examination by the freaking Republicans. Everything they've told you today, everything they said on the floor about secret basement hearing, 47 Republicans were included in taking the depositions of every one of the witnesses who testified in front of the House. Every Republican on the House Intelligence Committee and every Republican on the House Judiciary Committee was allowed to ask questions of every single witness. All of this lying has got to stop. It has to. Because we have a criminal sitting in the White House who goes to Milwaukee and talks toilets. While we're finding out that the president's private attorney sent a letter to Volodymyr Zelensky before he was even inaugurated saying, you need to meet with us. And it was about getting dirt on the Bidens. And the CrowdStrike thing. This is sick. So let's go to Marie Yovanovitch's testimony, okay? This is Adam Schiff asking her, telling her how brave she is. And, you know, I don't think it really sunk into everybody's head that her life was truly in danger. And that is why she got a phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning in Ukraine telling her, you need to get on the next plane. Your life is in danger.
You've shown the courage to come forward today and testify. Notwithstanding the fact you were urged by the White House or State Department not to, notwithstanding the fact that, as you testified earlier, the president implicitly threatened you in that call record, and now the president in real time is attacking you. What effect do you think that has on other witnesses' willingness to come forward and expose wrongdoing?
Well, it's very intimidating.
It's designed to intimidate, is it not?
I mean, I can't speak to what the president is trying to do, but I think the effect is to be intimidating.
Well, I want to let you know, Ambassador, that some of us here take witness intimidation very, very seriously. Mr. Goldman.
And they didn't even get to what they had already seen, okay? What they had already subpoenaed. They hadn't seen, you know, look, these documents, I don't know how long they had them, but it couldn't have been very long because the first time that Parnas said that he would cooperate with the House Intelligence Committee is October 10th, okay? The day after he got arrested. So they've known. Now, if this is the stuff that the House has been looking at, if this is the stuff that Jim Jordan has seen, if this is the stuff that freaking Louis Gohmert has seen, or that Mark Meadows has seen, or that Ratcliffe has seen, and they are still defending this president in the face of this kind of threat to her life, then they are all prosecutable after the fact. They're aiding and abetting each and every one of them. And there are photos of Mark Meadows. There are photos of Kevin McCarthy with Lev Parnas. They're all over that. There's photos with Trump with Lev Parnas. There's photos with Ivanka and Lev Parnas. There's photos with Junior and Lev Parnas. There's photos of, there's videos of Rudy and Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman. And this is the stuff that they were doing. They were literally asking for a price to have an ambassador killed. It's so amazing to me. This is so sick. And Trump is talking toilets. Lev Parnas' attorney was tweeting last night, "Let the witnesses testify." Oh my God. Call the witnesses, Joe Bondi. With all these photos of Lev Parnas sitting in Jeff Sessions' seat in the Senate, holding the gavel. What the hell? How long has this been going on?
It's explosive. And what's interesting about this is we had asked for documentation production by Lev Parnas. And at that point, he hired Dowd, who was the president's attorney. He then got rid of Dowd, hired another attorney, and lo and behold, he's willing to comply with the subpoena. So here's someone who is complying with the subpoena with explosive documentation that shows that this has been an effort underway dating back to early last year to be able to build a case to tear down Biden as he saw him as the most likely opponent in his presidential race.
How disgusting is this? This is amazing. This is really, truly amazing. And you think that Donald Trump didn't welcome help from the Russians to get dirt on Hillary Clinton? Russia, if you're listening, you think he didn't do it in Ukraine too, huh? Yeah. Republicans suck.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Here's how Fox News is covering this, okay?
Well, Lev Parnas, this is
we got these notes of like scribble-scrabble on a Ritz-Carlton Vienna notepad, and we're supposed to all think, oh, the Democrats have a smoking gun. This is ridiculous. This says nothing. Well, this is just, it's not even dated. What
this is the guy.
Zelensky,
so who's Adam Schiff hanging out with? Parnas. Parnas, who's been indicted on serious federal crimes. The Democrats have been in negotiations to try to give this guy
sweetheart deal,
some type of nullification of his agreement. But remember, this guy has lied about me. He's lied about us several times. He's lied about our staff. This is not someone who is a credible witness for anything.
The text messages are credible witnesses for everything. Devin Nunes is a piece of dung, okay? This is so freaky, and they're sitting there on this alternate universe of a media platform called Fox News, saying all that was turned over in compliance with these congressional subpoenas is little scribbles on a notepad. Oh no! Oh hell no! There are letters from Rudy Giuliani. Seriously, Rudy Giuliani to President Zelensky saying that he is acting at the behest of, with the knowledge and the consent of Donald Trump, okay? And Donald Trump has said on Fox News that he didn't ask Rudy Giuliani to do any of this. He told Bill O'Reilly, Rudy's just a crime fighter. I didn't ask Rudy to do any of this.
What was Rudy Giuliani doing in Ukraine on your behalf?
Well, you have to ask that to Rudy, but Rudy, I don't even know. I know he was going to go to Ukraine, and I think he canceled the trip. But you know, Rudy has other clients other than me.
Oh my God!
So you didn't direct him to go there on your behalf.
No, but you have to understand, Rudy is a great corruption fighter. He's one of the greatest in the last 50 years. He was the greatest mayor in the history of the city of New York by far. Much better than Bloomberg. I mean, Bloomberg, when he took it over, the crime was in great shape. I mean, Rudy did a great job as mayor. And when you think, I mean, he has to look. I mean, he felt personally insulted by what happened during my campaign, because there were a lot of bad things happening, and you know that better than anybody else. A lot of really bad things were happening during my campaign. In a way, it's a miracle that I won, because with all of those horrible things, with the media against, with the dishonesty, the tremendous dishonesty, and then you hear about Google and Facebook and Twitter.
He didn't ask Rudy. Rudy's this great crime fighter. Okay, let's exhibit B today. Okay, on Rudy Giuliani stationery. Here you have it. Rudy Giuliani. You going to show this? May 10th. Here's a letter. Here, Rudy Giuliani stationery, May 10th, 2019. A letter to President-elect Volodymyr Zelensky, care of the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine, with the street address. Dear President-elect Zelensky, I am private counsel to President Donald Trump. Just to be precise, I represent him as a private citizen, not as President of the United States. This is quite common under American law because the duties and privileges of a president and a private citizen are not the same. Separate representation is usual process. Congratulations on a truly impressive victory. I have great fondness for your country, visited there often, even had the privilege of being on, recently, 2017. Hopefully you'll prosper. And then in the last paragraph, however, I have a more specific request. In my capacity as personal counsel to President Trump, and with his knowledge and consent, I request a meeting with you on this upcoming Monday, 3 days later, May 13th, or Tuesday, May 14th, 4 days later. I will need no more than a half hour of your time, and I will be accompanied by my colleague, Victoria Tensing, a distinguished American attorney who is very familiar with this matter. Please have your office let me know what time, okay? This is so sick. The President of the United, at least Rudy knew that the President of the United States could not use his official office to extort Ukraine. However, in the end, Donald Trump did use official acts that his office provides him with, like meetings with Zelensky in the Oval Office and aid to Ukraine, military aid to Ukraine, which he blocked in exchange for the extortion. I mean, this is just so unbelievable. There's so many smoking guns in this impeachment trial that is about to happen in the Senate next week. There are so many smoking guns that they're going to have to open the windows to let the smoke out. People aren't going to be able to breathe. This is unbelievable. And then Donald Trump says, I don't know the Parnassus. I have no idea who he is, blah, blah, blah. Well, there is a letter also included in these documents that were released to the public last night. And one of the documents clearly shows a letter to Donald Trump's attorney, John Dowd, from Donald Trump's attorney, Jay Sekulow, dated October 2nd, 2019. It's an email. Jay Sekulow writes to the president's counsel, John Dowd. John, I've discussed the issue of representation with the president. The president consents to allowing your representation of Mr. Parnas and Mr. Fruman. So apparently Donald Trump does know Fruman and Parnas and signed off on having his former lawyer, John Dowd, represent Jay Sekulow's clients. And now Jay Sekulow also represents the president. I mean, this is just so sick. They all know. Everybody knows. And I don't know them.
I don't know those gentlemen. Now, it's possible I have a picture with them because I have a picture with everybody. I have a picture with everybody here. But somebody said there may be a picture or something where at a fundraiser or somewhere. But I have pictures with everybody. I don't know if there's anybody I don't have pictures with. I don't know them. I don't know about them. I don't know what they do. But I don't know. Maybe they were clients of Rudy. You'd have to ask Rudy. I just don't know.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. He knows them. He absolutely knows them. There are a million pictures of him and his children and, his Republican Party members, Jeff Sessions, what's his name? I always get all the freedom crackers mixed up. There are a million pictures of Parnas and Fruman, a million of them. There are pictures all over the place. I don't know them. Well, here is an email from Jay Sekulow to John Dowd, the president's attorney, both of them representing the president, saying, is it okay with Donald Trump? Is it okay with President Trump if John Dowd represents Parnas and Fruman? Yeah, Donald Trump signed off. It's okay. My attorney can represent Parnas and Fruman. I mean, this is so disgusting. This man lies about everything, including the weather. We now have some sort of an active crisis in Iran because he lied about an imminent threat. He failed to notify the embassies of an imminent threat. And now there's reporting 3 people who were in Mar-a-Lago with the president over the Christmas vacation. They knew before Congress, they knew before the embassies, they knew before anybody overseas who would need to duck and cover or take protective measures. The people in Mar-a-Lago are saying, oh, well, weeks before he attacked Iran, he was telling us he was going to do it. He was telling us, you'll see. I got something big, something really big. How could it be an imminent threat if they knew weeks before? And how does taking out a general somehow remove any active cells that were going to initiate, death against embassies? And why weren't the embassies notified? Listen, this is a dangerous man. But, the more I look at these documents and the more I realize this is what Congress has been seeing, the more I wonder how did they stay so calm and follow the law? How could they not, just say, oh, my God, send the sergeant at arms over there and lock him up? Physically remove him. And now, Marie Yovanovitch's attorneys are asking for an investigation into what was likely to happen to her, why she was spirited out of Ukraine at 1 o'clock in the morning, who knew what and when. This is so relevant to Mitch McConnell's freaking sham of a kangaroo court that he... Oh, by the way, Mitch McConnell is saying he's putting unprecedented restrictions on cameras in the Senate. Now, we all know C-SPAN has been around since, 1979, I think. C-SPAN had to write a letter to Mitch McConnell today asking to allow a camera in the Senate.
Mary had a little lamb.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
I think most Americans would think that voters in America should decide who our president is, not Vladimir Putin in Russia deciding who our president is. I'm very concerned that in all of this, whether it's withholding funds for the Ukrainians, the Ukrainian government to fight the Russians, whether it's undermining our commitment to NATO, whether it's, again, making decisions of what happens in Syria vis-a-vis Turkey, favoring the Russians, that all roads lead to Russia. All roads lead to Putin.
Holy crap.
Well, some in the administration may think that's okay. I don't. But we do insist and wonder why this president and some in this Congress will not come to the defense of our electoral system by allowing that to happen, denying that it's happening, placing the blame elsewhere. This is as serious as it gets for any of us. Only the vote to declare war would be something more serious than this. We take it very seriously. It's not personal. It's not political. It's not partisan. It's patriotic.
Wow. That was on the floor of the House of Representatives this morning ahead of the vote. And by the way, the vote passed 228 to 193, which means Republicans are not open to any information about the president being given to the public. They just want to cover up. They don't want anybody to see these documents. They don't want anybody to see these witnesses. They don't want Mulvaney to testify. They certainly don't want these Parnas documents introduced. They certainly don't want Rudy Giuliani to be called. They certainly don't want Mike Pompeo to be called. I mean, this is just such a cover-up, and it's really sick and sad. And here's how far it's going. It's going as far as to block cameras from covering the trial in the Senate. C-SPAN, the least political outfit I have ever seen broadcasting important news to the American people, had to write a letter moments ago to, well, actually they wrote this in December, to Mitch McConnell, asking Mitch McConnell if they could please have the pool camera, the C-SPAN camera, turned on for the trial in the Senate. This is what they wrote. The Honorable Mitch McConnell, Majority Leader, we respectfully request that when the Senate convenes an impeachment trial of President Trump, you allow C-SPAN to position our cameras in the Senate chamber to cover those proceedings. There are few duties more significant and historic than when the Senate exercises its constitutional role of impeaching a president. The feed produced by the Senate recording studio, operating under standard Senate guidelines, provides a restricted view of Senate floor debates. We believe and hope you will agree that the American public deserves a more comprehensive view of the Senate trial. It has long been common practice during the State of the Union address and joint meetings of Congress to allow private news media cameras to cover those speeches. The historic nature of the Senate trial and the intense interest on the part of millions of Americans and the world argues for a similar approach in the Senate. C-SPAN brings our 40 years of experience covering congressional proceedings to this task. We commit to working with your staff and the Senate radio, TV gallery on any logistics questions regarding the number of cameras, their placement within the chamber. In addition, we will make our feed available to all congressionally accredited media organizations wishing to cover the trial. We hope you'll give serious consideration to our request. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Susan Swain, who you know from C-SPAN's Morning Journal, et cetera, okay? She's in charge of C-SPAN. Mitch McConnell is going to subject the press to unprecedented restrictions during the trial so we can't see. Every news organization, the Committee of Correspondents, the New York Times, Roll Call, all of these publications are all arguing with Mitch McConnell now about this crackdown to, ban the American people from following the trial. Why, if they have nothing to hide, are they hiding every damn thing? The president knows Lev Parnas. The president lied. The president told Rudy Giuliani to go to Ukraine. The president lied. He said he didn't direct him. Rudy's a crime fighter. By nature, he just decided to go, and I have nothing to... Everything this president has said is a lie. I don't think he's ever told the truth about any damn thing. Nothing. These documents, these text messages, and, F you, Laura. I mean, you know that story about Laura. You trash me on your show. Gee, I wonder why. You literally wasted your life. You went to Dartmouth, you fool. You have a law degree. And you're thin. You could have ruled the world, but instead you became this hack. You became this thing. You became this boozy creature that covers the truth up from the American people and promotes propaganda. They had the nerve to call me Tokyo Rhodes. The nerve of them. Projection, everybody, projection. Oh, these are just scribblings on a napkin. No, these are text messages. These are documents. These are emails. These are letters written on Rudy's stationery. This is real. These are people's lives. Doug in Denver.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
Your research is spot on. Your research is spot on, as always. You just said that there was imminent threat to 3 or 4 embassies, and they weren't warned. Isn't that what Benghazi was all about? This is Trump's Benghazi.
Well, no. Benghazi actually was an attack on a remote location, and we couldn't respond fast enough to it. That's what Benghazi was. There was no malintent. This is evil. This is literally evil. This was an assassination predicated on a lie that there was an imminent threat to our embassies. No one has briefed anyone in the House or in the Senate of an imminent threat. Not the Secretary of Defense, not the Secretary of State, no one.
But wasn't the problem with Benghazi that we weren't prepared and Clinton was being blamed for it? Isn't that the same thing as not
I just explained to you. I just explained to you. Benghazi was not an embassy. It was an outpost, okay? There were 4 people there. It was sad. It was horrible. We were not, they didn't, they had to respond from Italy, okay? And they didn't have time to get there. That is not the same as lying about imminent attacks on an embassy to the American people, but not notifying the embassies of an imminent attack in order to carry out an assassination of a sovereign nation's general, an Iranian general, on yet another sovereign nation's soil, Iraq. Those are not the same things.
So it's worse than Benghazi.
Well, duh.
Okay.
All right. Aaron in Santa Fe.
Hi, Randy.
Oh, no. 30 days, bud. 30 days. I told you yesterday. You're going to have to police yourself, and if you don't, I'll be the radio, television police, whatever it is that I do. I don't even know. Internet, television, radio, I'm the police. Once every 30 days, you chronic. Okay, stop it already. I'm literally so angry. You don't want to mess with me today. You just don't. And I don't feel good. And my hair is dirty. And the debate sucked last night because they left this elephant stand in the room and didn't have the nerve to ask any of the candidates about it.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Do you remember Sondland's testimony, anybody? Sondland, a Republican witness. Volker and Sondland were Republican requested, provided witnesses. All of this lying has got to stop. Sondland was a donor. Yeah, he was a $1 million donor. And for this, he became the ambassador to the European Union, a union which Ukraine is not part of. But his testimony was, yeah, Rudy Giuliani was directing a quid pro quo.
As I testified previously, with regard to the requested White House call and the White House meeting, the answer is yes. Mr. Giuliani conveyed to Secretary Perry, Ambassador Volker, and others that President Trump wanted a public statement from President Zelensky committing to investigations of Burisma and the 2016 election. Mr. Giuliani expressed those requests directly to the Ukrainians, and Mr. Giuliani also expressed those requests directly to us. We all understood that these prerequisites for the White House call and the White House meeting reflected President Trump's desires and requirements. Within my State Department emails, there is a July 19th email. This email was sent to Secretary Pompeo.
Oh, Jesus.
Secretary Perry. Brian McCormick, who is Secretary Perry's chief of staff at the time. Miss Kenna, who is the who is the executive secretariat for Secretary Pompeo. Chief of Staff Mulvaney, and Mr. Mulvaney's senior advisor, Rob Blair. A lot of senior officials. A lot of senior officials. Here is my exact quote from that email. I talked to Zelensky just now. He is prepared to receive POTUS's call. We'll assure him that he intends to run a fully transparent investigation and will turn over every stone. He would greatly appreciate a call prior to Sunday so that he can put out some media about a friendly and productive call, no details, prior to Ukraine election on Sunday. Chief of Staff Mulvaney responded, I asked the NSC to set it up for tomorrow. Everyone was in the loop. It was no secret.
Everyone was in the loop. It was no secret what Rudy Giuliani was doing.
What was Rudy Giuliani doing in Ukraine on your behalf?
Well, you have to ask that to Rudy, but Rudy, I don't even know. I know he was going to go to Ukraine, and I think he canceled the trip. But, you know, Rudy has other clients other than me.
He is a lying sack of dung. And then Rudy went on television. Now you know. They were literally hunting, stalking, intimidating, if not planning to just remove Marie Yovanovitch. She was an impediment to their schemes. And remember, he didn't really want an investigation into Joe Biden. He only wanted an announcement from Zelensky saying he was going to investigate the Bidens so that he could use it at his stupid rallies, so that he could say there's dirt on Biden. He didn't really want an investigation because an investigation would show absolutely no wrongdoing. He just wanted the announcement. And that's what was so bizarre about the request to begin with. And on that perfect phone call, which I went and printed out once again, on that perfect phone call, Donald Trump is praising Victor Shokin, the dirty prosecutor, who Joe Biden was adamant about Ukrainians in their Rada, which is their parliament, vote him out because Victor Shokin wouldn't investigate corruption, wouldn't investigate Burisma, wouldn't investigate oligarchs in Ukraine that were stealing, wouldn't investigate Viktor Yanukovych, who was stealing from Ukrainians in the black ledgers, paying Paul Manafort too. And Donald Trump, in the perfect phone call, praises Victor Shokin. He says, good, because I heard you had a prosecutor who was very good, and he was shut down. And that's really unfair. A lot of people are talking about that. The way they shut your very good prosecutor down. And you had some very bad people involved. Mr. Giuliani is a highly respected man. He was the mayor of New York City, a great mayor. And I would like him to call you. I will ask him to call you, along with Attorney General. Rudy very much knows what's happening, and he's very capable. If you could speak to him, that would be great. The former ambassador from the United States, the woman, was bad news. And the people she was dealing with in the Ukraine were bad news. So I just want to let you know that. The other thing, there's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution. And a lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you could do with the Attorney General would be great. Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution. So if you can look into it, it sounds horrible to me. Zelensky says, with regard to the ambassador to the United States, he said, it was great that you, Donald Trump, were the first one who told me that she was a bad ambassador. They had targeted her because she was an impediment to the extortion. She would have said something. She was an impediment to Fruman and Parnas trying to get on the board of Naftogaz. She was an impediment to Rudy Giuliani's being able to use Viktor Shokin, who was the dirtiest of the dirty, and Lutsenko, also a dirty prosecutor, as witnesses against the Bidens. And then Rudy went on TV and said that he believed Mr. Lutz and that Maria Yovanovitch perjured herself in her testimony. She perjured herself.
Rudy, much of the work, your work in Ukraine, hinges on the word of former Prosecutor General of the Ukraine, Lutsenko. But here's how he was described in The New Yorker. Of course, no conservative publication, but you gave them an interview. Lutsenko, sometimes referred to simply as the corrupt Prosecutor General of Ukraine, has been portrayed hardly without reason as an unscrupulous politician prone to telling lies to further his personal ambitions. Lutsenko fed information to Giuliani, which Giuliani, Trump, and their allies spun to smear the reputations of the Bidens, and Marie Yovanovitch, whom Trump fired in April. One of the House's star witnesses told of Lutsenko, said, "I don't think we'd be here if not for him." Now, this hit piece, and it's a hit piece, also has you on the record admitting that you forced out Marie Yovanovitch.
Of course
you
I
said
did.
you needed her out of the way, but you're a personal attorney for the president, so why do you need her out of the way?
I didn't need her out of the way.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
You said you needed her out of the way, but you're a personal attorney for the president, so why do you need her out of the way?
I didn't need her out of the way. I forced her out because she's corrupt. I came back with a document that will show unequivocally that she committed perjury.
Oh, my God.
When she said that she turned down the visa for Mr. Shokin because of corruption. The fact is, on the record, in the State Department's own records, the reason given is because he had an operation and hadn't recovered yet. The operation, of course, was 2 years before. It's documentary evidence that she committed perjury. I have 4 witnesses who will testify that she personally turned down their visas because they were going to come here and give evidence either against Biden or against the Democratic Party. There's no question that she was acting corruptly in that position and had to be removed. She should have been fired if the State Department weren't part of the deep state.
But why didn't...
This man is congenital, okay, and criminal. And the text messages clearly show that they had her under surveillance, physical surveillance, security people watching her, knowing where she lives, next to the embassy. Somebody is on the inside. I mean, this is bizarro world. This is just heinous. This is gross. And Mitch McConnell doesn't want documents. Now you know why. Mitch McConnell doesn't want witnesses. Now you know why. Everyone was in the loop. Everybody knew that this was going on. All these people, all of them. All of them. And the president using his official office to get what he wanted. Rudy Giuliani using muscle to get what he wanted. I mean, this is just this is gangsta stuff. But it's the gang that couldn't shoot straight. That's the sad part about it. Do you really want your government run by a cabal of gangsters that can't shoot straight? It's not even entertaining. It's like a freaking parody of Goodfellas. It's like a parody of the Godfather. It's like there's nothing that suggests that anybody is good at any job that they do. Whether it's a nefarious job, an ugly job, a violent job, an extorting job, a shakedown job, they're bad at it. They're just terrible at it. And now you know why John Bolton called this a drug deal. He said, I don't want to be part of Rudy Giuliani's drug deal. Because they were running this like a drug deal. They were literally intimidating people. They were literally following people. They were literally shaking down people. They had physical security, tracking people. It was a drug deal. Except instead of drugs, they wanted Ukraine to say that they had hacked the DNC and Russia did not, and that Joe Biden, they were going to look into, dirty doings about Joe Biden. That's all. That's what he wants. This is so bizarre. I can't even tell you. I cannot even tell you. And the documents, I mean, the letters they wrote to each other and the emails that were sent and the text messages on and on. I mean, and the testimony. Don't forget the testimony. You know, when you listen to the testimony, some of those witnesses were really good at explaining things. Sondland, who was a Republican witness, Volker, who was a Republican witness, they weren't going to go down the tubes for this gang that couldn't shoot straight. They weren't going to end their millionaire lives or their lifestyles for Donald Trump. So they told the truth. And now you put it with the documents and you put it with what we already knew about Bolton sending everybody to a lawyer. Bolton's, he told, what's her name? The Russian expert, Fiona Hill, told her to go to a lawyer. Go to the Inspector General. Go to the IC, the Intelligence Community Attorney. Go to the General Counsel for the Intelligence Community. Go now. He told the same thing to Vindman. Go now. Go to the attorney. Everybody's going to attorneys. Dan in North Carolina, California.
Hi, Randy.
Hi.
So, I heard Malcolm Nance talking this morning.
Oh, what did he say?
And he was talking about, with the hack of Burisma.
Uh-huh.
He was saying that they could make up anything. They could plant, kiddie porn with one of the Bidens or something. And I think even though we might be ready for that, I'm afraid that's going to happen, and then the Republicans are going to, point to that and say, "Look, all this evidence you got on Trump, it's all made up. Look what they can do."
Yeah, except that this is, sent by email and it's time stamped, on the internets and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that.
And the testimony is already banked, and Rudy Giuliani's already on TV saying that he did. Get rid of her.
Boy, I hope you're right, Randy. Because you sound furious, and I'm furious, too.
I'm furious because America is in distress. This is it. This is like all the lights are blinking red. People's hair are on fire. This is real.
Randy, Malcolm agrees with you.
I know. And
Malcolm said the same thing this morning.
Oh.
He was saying this is it.
This is it. This is everything. This. Like I said, there are so many smoking guns that we're gonna have to open the windows to clear the smoke out.
Yeah.
This is dangerous and deadly and scary and frightening. You have the gang that couldn't shoot straight, except they control war. They control nukes. They control bombers. They control whether or not they attacked freaking Iran, for God's sake. Based on nothing.
And the Republicans just, they he's too stupid to pull this off, Trump is. But the Republicans are just enabling him. It's just sickening.
You know what? There's this really horrendous story today, and people are going to say, how does that have anything to do with this? The entire Russian government, every member of the Duma, every member of Vladimir Putin's they all resigned. All of Russia, everybody resigned because Vlad wants to he knows he can't be president again, so now he's going to put all the power into the position of prime minister, and he's going to become the prime minister, and he's going to take all the power in that position. Everybody was forced to resign, and they all in lockstep did what he told them to do. Why do you think they did that? Why were they all willing to do that?
Because they didn't want to get a radiation pill.
That, and because he pays them. And that's what Donald Trump is doing. He's paying them.
There are, after everything that happened, you think that the people that that support him have got to lose ground somehow. But it seems like they...
Yeah, I'll tell you how. If they lose elections, then they have no ground, okay? They lose elections, they have no power. They lose elections, they're done. Sure, they'll go on to be lobbyists somewhere. They'll open up a shop, or they'll join another shop that's already, in existence. I could see McConnell and Associates, taking only the guiltiest of clients and, repairing their image. But that said, wake up Kentucky. Wake up South. Wake up Arkansas. Wake up Alabama. Stop and smell the death around you. the only reason why they're covering for Donald Trump, who they know is a moron and a man of evil, a man who has nothing good in mind for the American people, only himself, is because he's paying them.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
It's just so interesting to listen to them, from a few months ago, and now have context for things that Democrats were saying were happening to Marie Yovanovitch. Here's a little clip of Eric Swalwell talking about, how Rudy, just smeared her.
Rudy Giuliani is the president's lawyer, and the president and Rudy Giuliani cleared and smeared Ambassador Yovanovitch so that the president could cheat an election using your taxpayer dollars for his personal gain. That's abuse of power. That's why we're going to be voting this week to impeach the president.
Do you believe that the way that Giuliani is conducting himself is helpful to President Trump?
No, but it also demonstrates that the president did not abuse his power in the past tense. He is abusing his power in the present tense. And in that, when he hears from Senator McConnell that he's going to be acquitted, the signal that he receives from that is a green light, and he believes that he can continue to abuse the power of his office to cheat the upcoming election, which gives us the urgency in the House to act.
So, you're going to hear the Republicans say, oh, she sat on it for 3 weeks. Why was it so urgent? It's urgent because they said it was urgent, and then we had Russia hacking Burisma, which is exactly why it was urgent. And now we have an election coming up. Everybody starts voting February 3rd, don't they? And that's why it's urgent. And Mitch McConnell is going to dismiss that. Well, there's no vote for dismissal because at least you have some Republicans who are afraid of the people and the appearance, in light of all of this, that they don't care if the president is a criminal. They don't care if the president's, using Rudy Giuliani as a backdoor to intimidate and hunt and threaten, maybe even, for the right price, kill a U.S. ambassador who is an anti-corruption advocate who stands in the way of their hopes and dreams for enriching themselves in the world. I don't know. But there's no dismissal that is possible. There are too many Republican senators who understand that the appearance of not caring isn't going to help them. And you got guys that are leaving, like Lamar Alexander, okay? Lamar, you have Mike Enzi. He's leaving. Do you really think that they're willing to leave with a dismissal of the worst, most corrupt, most violent, endorsing violence president that they've ever seen, the most racist, and this saying a lot, racist presidents. We've had some hellaciously racist presidents. This man takes the cake, really. You really think that that's what they want their legacy to be? That they dismissed, a case that had documentary evidence, that had letters, that Donald Trump, totally understood that he didn't really want an investigation into his 2020 perceived challenger. He just wanted an announcement that there was dirt on Biden, just like Hillary. There was nothing in those emails. Nothing. Podesta had a great risotto recipe. Thank you for that. And everybody wants to say, well, what was the secret? It was pouring the broth in very, very slowly. That was his secret. Rhonda in Erie, hi.
Hi.
Hey.
So let me tell you what I've been thinking about all this time, about all of the evidence that keeps coming out. Even initially, when the House was debating the articles and this whole process, the way in which McConnell has been talking about, the thing that I cannot get out of my head is Jim Crow. It looks like a Jim Crow trial, right? Not on the part of the Democrats, but most certainly on the part of Republicans. They have done everything that they can possibly do to try to shield this man from criminal activity, and if it's not criminal, from unethical activity, by any means necessary. I mean, the lengths that they have gone to to support and to shield him is astounding. It looks like the era of Jim Crow in the South.
I see. Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, all that's missing is pointing to the dead black body and saying he did it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and so one of the things that I am concerned about, because you've been talking about issues with the media, but Stephanie has really been on the way that the media has behaved, and people keep expecting the mainstream media to turn the corner on this, and I don't think that they are, because what's going to happen is, they're going to have this quote unquote show trial, and McConnell is not getting what he wants. He wants less than what's actually going to wind up happening in the Senate. But it's basically going to be a show trial. See, we did something, but, the fix is in. They've already told us. He has already told us, well, the president's not going to be removed.
Yeah.
Well, he went to meet with him. I mean, you're right. There's that's the only thing that's missing from this. And I really want responsible media coverage of this. I'd like for people to start calling it what it is. It's a Jim Crow trial. And it's not just a Jim Crow trial. It is Jim Crow writ large, because all of this information that's coming out now is going to be treated in the same way as the Senate is going to treat impeachment.
Yeah, here's one thing. One thing that, the media is corporate, and that's why people like me and Stephanie have nothing to do with it anymore. Well, she's got a little more than I do, but I won't. I refuse. I'm done. But the media is corporate, and they are terrified of losing their tax breaks. You got Amazon paying zero taxes. You've got these giant media outlets that are scared that if you elected somebody progressive, they would return the media back to the mom and pops. They would get local coverage, right? And so they're just terrified of the unknown. And so, if anything, they will support corporate Democrats over Donald Trump, but they don't want to go too far, right? So they built up this stupid fight between Bernie and Elizabeth. Oh, it all matters. It just all matters. They handled it beautifully last night, gotta say. The two of them, she was obviously peeved and pissed and whatever, and that's it. And she decided to make it in, she came like a lady, she'd leave like a lady. I love the way she handled it. But here's the little something that I'm just hanging my hopes on for the continuation of a democratic republic, okay, is John Roberts. How could John Roberts, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, allow the Senate to not have witnesses or documents that are publicly available included in a trial, and then say that those senators upheld their oath to do impartial justice? I don't know how he goes along with this. I really don't. I will tell you, in the Clinton impeachment, Rehnquist didn't have to do very much because the Senate agreed 100-0 on the rules. And the rules included witnesses. And all those witnesses were already deposed prior to the trial, already testified to a grand jury, including the President of the United States. Everybody forgets Bill Clinton forked over his own DNA, for God's sake. Okay? So I don't know. There really wasn't much for Rehnquist to do, okay, except enforce the rules that were set forth by the Senate. But how does John Roberts deny what is likely to be, an appeal that will be made by the House managers, okay, these 7 House managers, to do impartial justice, to allow the documents? Now, they're going to say, oh, well, if there's not 51 votes, I can't. I don't know how this is going to really play out. I don't.
See, I would like to believe that he will be an impartial jurist. That's what I'd like to believe. What I think, though, is actually going to happen is that, I think of the Supreme Court at this point as a wholly owned subsidiary of Trump Enterprises. I do. And John Roberts sat in the State of the Union address with Barack Obama when Barack Obama talked about Citizens United predicting that it was going to have the devastating effect that it has. He sat there, not stoically, But he sat there shaking his head like, nope, you don't
remember.
know what you're talking about. You don't, And so that's the guy that I'm remembering. Everybody thinks that this is a guy who, he cares about his legacy, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't know that I've seen that from him. And I am not at all convinced that he's going to be the impartial jurist that we need.
I'm not convinced either. I want to be on the record with you agreeing that I am not convinced, but this thing is devastating. We have never seen a case against a president where ambassadors were literally targeted for God knows what at the behest with the knowledge and consent of the president of the United States. How does one actually remain a jurist at all if the documents and the witnesses who would back up that claim and could prove, So
me either.
Right. I know it takes your breath away. That's why I'm so freaking pissed today.
Clear.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
At this time, I will administer the oath to all senators in the chamber in conformance with Article 1, Section 3, Clause 6 of the Constitution and the Senate's impeachment rules. Will all senators now stand or remain standing and raise their right hand? Do you solemnly swear that in all things appertaining to the trial of the impeachment of Donald John Trump, President of the United States, now pending, you will do impartial justice according to the Constitution and laws, so help you God?
Oh, for God's sake.
So we're off. The trial will start next Tuesday, as you now know. So there was Chief Justice John Roberts in the Senate. Do you know how crazy that looked? Do you know how nuts this is? Do you know how historic it is? Do you understand how bizarre? How did we get here? Oh my God. Okay, so that happened today. And you know why I played the oh my God, for God's sake? Because Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell are already in violation of that oath to do impartial justice. They're already in when they said I do, they violated the oath. It's just, this is such a scam, this is such a sham. But I don't know how much of Lev Parnas you were able to see. Rachel Maddow had pre-taped an interview with him. Part 2 tonight. That was just part 1. How many bombshells does it take before America understands it's under attack by Donald Trump and the entire administration? I'm telling you. And then I don't know if you realize this or not. I don't know how many people watched the CNN, but Anderson Cooper also had an interview with Lev Parnas. And it was just, again, more bombardment, more artillery. We are under a full frontal attack. And what did I tell you a long time ago? After I had been able to read all of the witnesses' opening statements and then follow along with the bouncing testimony as they were sworn in and they testified, Sondland, Volker, Vindman, Fiona Hill, you can't even remember half of them. The woman from the Defense Department who had said, oh no, Ukraine had complied with all anti-corruption, benchmarks that we had set for, all the testimony that we heard, right? I said, oh my God, this is a RICO violation. What does that mean? It means the entire Trump administration is a corrupt organization, and instead of trying each and every individual's crime, the entire administration should be charged under a RICO Act, okay? A racketeering-influenced corrupt organization. That is what the administration is, a racketeering-influenced corrupt organization. And listen, if people want to say, oh, well, Parnas is under indictment, can I just explain something to you? It doesn't matter. He's got the receipts. He's got the text messages. He's got voicemails from Victoria Tensing. He's got voicemails from Rudy Giuliani. He's got photographs. He's got text messages. Text messages are time-stamped. They happened. He's got calendar entries. He's got all of the receipts. You might not like him or want to believe him or feel the need to believe. But the only thing he's charged with, and this is really interesting, is a campaign finance violation. He's charged with funneling foreign money into the Trump campaign. That is what SDNY has charged him and Igor Fruman with. Now, in the grand scheme of things, a campaign finance violation, which is, it'll get you 3 years. Look at Michael Cohen. But a campaign finance violation, how in the world does that come up to, what even a slightly honest, remotely honest person would say the Trump administration is involved in? Shaking down foreign nations, extortion, taking false testimony from dirty prosecutors in a foreign country, assassinating generals from Iran in Iraq, violating this is just so unbelievable. So, the senators are going to have to lie at Trumpian levels to themselves in this trial if they are going to acquit him. Because holy moly, I don't even know what to say. I mean, I would love to say what you're all thinking, but I can't. But it makes it clear that Donald Trump himself, this Parnas revelation, all these documents, all of the witness testimony. Remember Fiona Hill, Rudy Giuliani was a hand grenade, he was going to blow us up. John Bolton calling it a drug deal. Parnas, literally yesterday, Mulvaney admitted he did it on TV, right? Mulvaney, described the quid pro quo. And said that they did hold up the aid, and you should get used to it because this happens all the time. He literally confessed right there on the TV. Donald Trump confessed right there on the TV where somebody asked him, a reporter asked him, what did you really want from Zelensky? And he said, I wanted him to investigate Biden. I wanted him to do that. And I think China ought to investigate Biden too. All of this stuff. By the way, there's a new issue now for Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is supposed to be a biped, okay? He is. He's supposed to be a biped, meaning he's supposed to have some sort of a spine. Now, you could call him a snake, which is not a biped, but at least a snake has a spine. This man is in worm territory. This man is in, I don't even want to insult a ferret. They're so adorably cute. I love a ferret. But he's in weasel territory, okay? The man is dirty. He is. He's got dirty hands. So does Mulvaney. And by the way, the list of everybody, it's Bolton knew. Just people who knew. Okay? Bolton didn't apparently approve, but Bolton knew and Bolton knows. And Bolton says, I'll tell it in my book. That's real patriotism for it. But Bolton knew. Mulvaney admitted it on TV. Now we're finding out that Bill Barr knew. Mike Pence understood what the quid pro quo was. He was dispatched to Poland to deliver the quid pro quo at the behest of Donald Trump. Gordon Sondland knew. He testified, yes, there was a quid pro quo. Volker knew. Giuliani obviously was, working hand in glove with Donald Trump to extort Ukraine. Hannity knew, according to these text messages. Laura Ingraham knew. Mark Levin knows. Victoria Tensing is part of it and knows. Joe DeGenevieve, they were paid a lot of money, like $1.2 million. Now I understand the Firtash portion of this story really well. Here's the Firtash. Firtash is he's an alleged Russian mafioso, like a big one, like directly related to Mogilevich, who is the head of the Russian mafia just under Putin. Okay? And Firtash is an associate of Mogilevich, and he owns the distribution company in Ukraine for Gazprom, the Russian gas company. That's who Firtash is. Firtash apparently committed fraud and a whole bunch of other crimes, and he's living in Austria. The United States is trying to extradite him here to stand trial for his crimes. Apparently, he was represented by Lanny Davis, something for which Rudy Giuliani smeared Lanny Davis, right? on the TV. And then all of a sudden, a little bell went off in his head and said, you know, what we could do is we could get to Dimitri Firtash, get him to change lawyers, get him to go at Victoria Tensing and Joe DeGeneva, who are friends with Bill Barr. And they can make a quid pro quo with Firtash. Get us dirt on Joe Biden, and we'll get in front of Bill Barr and get your extradition dropped. Maybe even drop the charges. And for this, Victoria Tensing and Joe DeGeneva collected $1.2 million plus $100,000 a month in expenses. And so that's the Firtash portion. This is just so then Parnas gets hired by Firtash to make this connection for real money. And Parnas also hires Rudy Giuliani when Rudy Giuliani suggests that he hire them. Igor Fruman and Parnas hire Rudy Giuliani. Why? Attorney-client privilege. What a sick bunch of people. But they all knew. Rush Limbaugh knows. Everyone knows.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
When you say that the president knew about your movements and knew what you were doing, are you saying specifically, and I want to sort of drill down on that, that the president was aware that you and Mr. Giuliani were working on this effort in Ukraine to basically try to hurt Joe Biden's political career? He knew about that.
Yeah, well, it was all about Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and also Rudy had a personal thing with the Manafort stuff, the Black Ledger.
Mm-hmm.
That was another thing that they were looking into, but it was never about corruption. It was strictly about the Burisma, which included Hunter Biden and Joe Biden.
This is so totally predictable, okay? This is so knowable. And this is what the House has been looking at with regard to witness testimony from ambassadors and people at the DOD and envoys and Russia experts, Fiona Hill, et cetera, et cetera. They've known this for a really long time. Then all of a sudden, Lev Parnas comes along. See, this is the thing about Lev Parnas. Lev Parnas was subpoenaed, just to be clear, by the House back in October. And Lev Parnas had a lawyer, John Dowd, the president's attorney, and John Dowd said, no, we're going to do the White House thing and we're not going to participate, as if it was an option to violate and defy a congressional subpoena. Where does Lev Parnas get the right to defy a congressional subpoena? Obviously, he had the protection of the president, obviously. And so he was, the president's attorney said, my client, Lev Parnas, is choosing the White House tack, and he's choosing not to participate in the congressional inquiry. What? And then the Southern District of New York catches him dead to rights funneling foreign money, Russian money, into America First, the America First PAC, the Trump campaign PAC, Political Action Committee, right? And they go to arrest him as he's fleeing to Vienna, where Firtash is. One-way ticket. After he's arrested, he changes lawyers. Now he's got this guy with the eyes. You see this guy with the eyes? Oh my God! You know this guy with the eyes? This his new lawyer. What's his name? Bondi. The new lawyer. Well, I tell you, he's Al Pacino in The Devil's Advocate. He's Mr. Milton. This guy, he's searing. I mean, the way he was looking at Rachel, it was creepalicious. I mean, it was like woo. It was like he had like some super magic, superpower. It was weird. Anyway, he hires this guy Bondi, and Bondi says, your best bet, you got all these receipts, you got these text messages, you got documents, you got voicemails, you've got emails, you've got letters from Rudy Giuliani, you've got phone calls from Victoria Tensing recorded. I mean, I told you, he was telling the House a long time ago that he had audio tapes, he had video tapes, he had a lot of stuff. Now, the House wanted this stuff, but he wouldn't participate. He changes lawyers after he gets arrested. And then, because he's arrested and facing trial for an unrelated charge of campaign finance violations, the court had to give permission for him to release his evidence to Congress. The court finally ruled this just a couple days ago, and that's how we got the documents. So Susan Collins, I don't know what's happened to her. I honestly don't. I mean, I know she voted for Kavanaugh. I get something is really up with her. I don't know what she's afraid of. I guess an election. That seems to be the thing that frightens senators more than any other thing. But she's like, well, why didn't the House include all of this evidence, before? Because they didn't have it. The court hadn't ruled yet that he could turn it over to Congress, even though he'd been subpoenaed months ago. And then her response to that was, well, then I guess they didn't do a fulsome job. They were in court just like you're saying they should be. I don't know what's wrong with her. I really don't know. But anyway, there's that. So the really hair-raising thing for me, because I have always said this to you, that there's no way for Pence to get out of this. And people go, well, then we'll have Vice President Pence. And what has my response to you always been? Pence is up to his pencil neck in this. Okay? There is no way that Pence went to Poland, met with Zelensky, and didn't tell him what Donald Trump was holding this aid up for. There is no way. Pence knew everything. He knew exactly what the shakedown was. He was part of it. He was an extortionist too. He did exactly, because he's just he genuflects in front of Trump, which is just grotesque. But you could either say he's in the front or the back. He's either up the yin or he's in the front doing a Lewinsky. I don't know what you want to say about him, but of course he knew, and Lev Parnas said, of course he knew. He told it to Anderson Cooper. He told it to Rachel Maddow. Here, I'll play you both.
In terms of who knew about what you were doing in Ukraine, did Vice President Pence know?
Of course.
Of course.
Because, his office has said he was unaware of, that he had met with Zelensky after not going to the inauguration, but he wasn't delivering a message of a quid pro quo.
Look, again, like I said, I'm not here to debate. I'm here to get the truth out. I got my records.
Yeah. But how do you know that the vice president would have known what Giuliani was up to? What you were
because we would speak every day. I knew everything that was going on.
Oh my God.
After Rudy would speak with the president or come from the White House, I was the first person he briefed. We had a relationship. We were that close. We were together from morning to night. He took me. Every interview he would do, I would be sitting over there while he was doing the interviews.
So Giuliani knew everything you were doing?
Everything.
You're saying Vice President Pence knew?
Well, I don't know if my vice president knew everything we were doing. I'm sure he was.
But he knew about a quid pro quo?
Well, of course, he knew. Everybody knew. Everybody that was close to Trump knew that this was a thorn in the side and this was a serious situation.
Bolton.
Mulvaney. Bolton, I don't think, agreed with it. Right. I think there's certain people that agreed with it and didn't agree with it.
He called it a drug deal, according to Fiona Hill.
I think Bolton is a very important witness because I think between me and Bolton, we could fit in all the dots. I think because I was on the ground there and he was over here.
And you'd be willing to testify?
I would be very willing to testify.
Oops. And Rachel asked the same thing. Did Pence know?
So Vice President Mike Pence has his planned trip to the inauguration canceled after you were unable to get the Ukrainian government to commit to announcing investigations of Vice President Biden. Okay. Do you know if Vice President Pence was aware that that was the quid pro quo, that that was the trade, and that in fact is why his inaugural visit was called off?
I'm going to use a famous quote by Mr. Sutherland. Everybody was in the loop.
Oh, yeah. You believe that Vice President Pence knew that his trip to the inauguration was contingent on those investigations being announced?
Again, I know he went to Poland also to discuss this on Trump's behalf.
Can you say President Pelosi? You see how that works? You see how that works? President, Vice President, Speaker of the House.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call Call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
All right, here's Lev Parnas on Anderson Cooper's show describing the many quid pro quos that were in play.
Your attorney in a tweet had said that there were 2 times in which you gave the message of a quid pro quo to Ukrainian officials. What were those 2 times?
I think there were probably a little bit more than 2 times, but there were several. The first quid pro we gave was when we met with President Poroshenko.
Oh my God.
That was
former president.
Former President Poroshenko.
So what was your message to Poroshenko?
Poroshenko is that if he would make the announcement that he would get Trump would either invite him to the White House or make a statement for him, but basically would start supporting him for president.
So that was the first quid pro quo. Poroshenko can come to the White House or get a meeting with Trump if he announces an investigation.
Correct.
What was the next one?
And you have to understand, because this was a transition time. Zelensky just won. He was president-elect. And the number one thing on their agenda was not even the transition; it was to get the inauguration, because it was a big thing. He was a young
to show the American backing of the new administration. Of course,
because he had no strength with Russia.
Giuliani cancels his visit because there's a lot of bad publicity about it in the United States. He cancels his visit. You go have the meeting with a high-level official in Zelensky's circle, and what's the message you deliver?
I basically told him very strict and very stern that several things. A, that he needed to make an announcement, Zelensky needed to immediately make an announcement, literally that night or tomorrow, within the next 24 hours, that they were opening up an investigation on Biden.
Within 24 hours or so?
I mean, I don't remember 24 hours that same night, but I mean, literally, because, I mean, Rudy was really pissed off that this was going to be a setup.
That this hadn't happened.
Well, he said some very strong words. I mean, he on TV also. I mean, everybody in Ukraine was flipping out at that time, because to hear Rudy Giuliani come out and say that there's that Zelensky, the president-elect, that all of a sudden he's surrounded by enemies, and he named the names of the people.
That could be that could destroy the new regime.
It was it was very near. I mean, it was some crazy times in Ukraine at that time, because it became a power struggle. You know.
So Rudy is pissed off, in your words. You go in, your message is announce the Biden investigation.
Announce the Biden investigation, get rid of certain individuals that are the enemies of the president in his administration.
At that point, was there any mention of withholding of aid?
Yeah, it was, well, if they didn't make the announcement, basically, there would be no relationship, it was no specific military, there was no aid that was going to be assisted, there was going to be no inauguration, Pence wouldn't be at the inauguration, and there would be no visit to the White House, there would be they would have no communication.
Oh my God. That is a complete and total shakedown of a country that is in a war with Russia. That is a complete and utter shakedown, okay? And this is going on for months. For months. And Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani, if one more piece of evidence goes over to that Congress, you're going in the pizza oven. In the oven you go. This is total mob stuff, okay? This is total extortion, shakedown, pay me. This is, oh, you're at war? F you, pay me. I want dirt on Biden. And I want Ukraine to say that they hacked, that Russia did. And no announcement was coming from Ukraine, not from Poroshenko and not from anybody in the previous administration, okay? That's when this started. This started when the previous president was still president, when Poroshenko was still the president of Ukraine. And Donald Trump is, I'm not going to endorse you. I'm not going to announce. I'm not going to do anything. I won't. But if you do say you got dirt on Biden in preparation for 2020, if you do, I'll endorse you. You could come to the White House. You can show the Ukrainian people the full support of the United States of America. If not, you're on your own. In the oven you go. And Poroshenko loses and Zelensky wins. And now they regroup and they do the same thing to the new president. And this one, it's even worse because he's young. He has no experience in politics. He's a television person. He owns a media company over there. And he's also apparently starred in a sitcom where he played the president of Ukraine. And he ran on a anti-corruption platform. And, now the president's going, yeah, well, Poroshenko, look what happened to him. Look what happened to him. He wanted us to, we're going to cut you off at the knees. You're going to stare down Russia? with me and Vlad working together, we're going to work against you unless you give me dirt on Biden. I mean, this is unbelievable. Rudy writes a letter to Zelensky while and this is what I mean by receipts, there is an actual letter on Rudy Giuliani letterhead to Zelensky before he's even inaugurated saying, you're going to meet me in 4 days. You're going to meet me in 4 days. And if you don't meet me in 4 days, you can't come to the White House. Nobody's coming to your inauguration. I suggest you call me. I suggest you do it. And then on the perfect call, Donald Trump says the same damn thing, and they're so frustrated because Zelensky never caves. Poroshenko never caves. They're not getting involved in U.S. politics, okay? They're not. They got wars going on. They got the eastern part of their country being taken over. They got Crimea already annexed. They got a Russian, bunch of pro-Russian zealots in their country. You got Putin plotting and planning. This is so unbelievable what's going on here. This is so disgusting. And everybody knew. Now, here was an added extra attraction. This was the cherry on the cake of the day. This was the absolute cherry on the cake of the RICO Act. Now, I want you to understand why this is important, okay? You have ambassadors all over the world in far-flung places like Ukraine. Maybe it's far-flung to you. To me, it's not. But you've got them all over the world in places like Qatar and places like Pakistan. And what is their job? Their job is to promote democracies, okay? The American way of doing things. And one of the things that they always are so proud to promote overseas to investors, to people that want to do business with the United States, and also when they represent the countries that they are attached to try and get business into their countries so that those countries will prosper at the behest of the United States vouching for them. So what do? They sell the idea of equal justice under law. They sell to these foreign nations the idea that if people are corrupt or if people are doing, paying themselves or stealing from the Treasury or stealing from their governments, then in an American system of justice, they are brought to the bar of justice and they are held accountable and they are sentenced and they are put away. So that sends a message to anybody else that thinks that they could break the law, that America has a justice system that is blind to your affiliations, to your connections, to your riches, and if you break the law, then you're held to account. They can't do that anymore because the cherry on the cake of these interviews was Lev Parnas being able to demonstrate that Bill Barr, our Attorney General of the United States of America, was also on this team to extort Ukraine. So everybody in this administration, from the OMB to the chief of staff to the AG to the vice president to various ambassadors to the people that come into your living rooms on your TV, they all knew.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Do you know if Mr. Giuliani was ever in contact with Mr. Barr specifically about the fact that he was trying to get Ukraine to announce these investigations into Joe Biden?
Oh, absolutely.
Mr. Barr knew about that?
Mr. Barr had to have known everything. I mean, it's impossible.
Did Rudy Giuliani tell you he'd spoken to the Attorney General specifically about Ukraine?
Not only Rudy Giuliani. I mean, Victoria and Joe, they were all best friends. I mean, Barr was, Attorney General Barr was basically on the team.
Oh! On the team. Bill Barr was on the team. Now, you know that the Senate, at least people who are awake in the Senate, like Kamala Harris, they understood what was going on a long, long time ago. You remember Kamala Harris actually asked Bill Barr a long time ago if he had ordered the opening of any investigations into anybody. You remember that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General Barr, has the President or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone?
I wouldn't.
Yes or no?
Hamina.
Could you repeat that question?
I will repeat it. Has the President or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone? Yes or no, please, sir?
The President or anybody else?
Seems you would remember something like that and be able to tell us.
Yeah, but I'm trying to grapple with the word suggest. I mean, there have been discussions of matters out there that they have not asked me to open an investigation, but
perhaps they've suggested.
I don't know. I wouldn't say suggest.
Hinted.
I don't know.
Inferred. You don't know. Okay.
So are you saying that Bill Barr was in on this? Yeah, he was part of the team is what he was. He was actually on the team.
Did you ever meet with or speak with or have any interactions with Attorney General William Barr?
I personally did not speak to him, but I was involved in lots of conversations that Joe DeGenova had with him in front of me, Rudy had with him in front of me, and setting up meetings with Dimitri Firtash's team. I was involved in that.
Do you know if Mr. Giuliani was ever in contact with Mr. Barr specifically about the fact that he was trying to get Ukraine to announce these investigations into Joe Biden?
Oh, absolutely.
Mr. Barr knew about that?
Mr. Barr had to have known everything. I mean, it's impossible.
Did Rudy Giuliani tell you he'd spoken to the Attorney General specifically about Ukraine?
Not only Rudy Giuliani. I mean, Victoria and Joe, they were all best friends. I mean, Barr was, Attorney General Barr was basically on the team.
When President Trump and President Zelensky spoke in July, we know from the White House notes of the call that President Trump told Mr. Zelensky that he should contact William Barr about these investigations that he wanted him to do, including into Joe Biden. That struck a lot of people as strange. Attorney General Barr was purportedly upset and didn't know why he would have been mentioned in this context, but it sounds like it makes sense to you that...
Absolutely. Because we knew about the Durham investigation, and that was going to be part of, I mean, that Attorney General Barr wanted to get to the bottom of the Biden stuff and everything like that. I think he might have got upset that Trump talked about the president, ousted him maybe, that he didn't want to be in the public light like he was doing it, but it was known internally that he was investigating the investigators.
Oh! It's a RICO Act, everybody. It's a racketeering, influence, corrupt organization. Our administration is. All right, Chris in Massachusetts.
Yeah, hi, Randy.
Hey.
Thanks for taking my call. I really enjoy your programming.
Thank you.
At the start of your show, it showed Chief Justice Roberts swearing in all the senators. But it seems to me Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham have already
broken their oath,
said that they could not be impartial. So doesn't he, as the Chief Justice, have some obligation to call them folks out or do something about it?
Well, no. Here's the thing. The way that the trial in the Senate works is everything is done with 51 votes. Now, let's say Chief Justice Roberts says, he asserts himself, which don't look for that, but if he did, and he would say, well, it's interesting because, now here comes the time when we have to vote on witnesses, and you've already stated that you are going to have a trial without documents, and you're going to have a trial without witnesses, and then you took this oath to do impartial justice, and it seems like you can't uphold your oath. So therefore, I am requesting that you recuse yourself, for instance, right? Well,
right.
Okay, so then somebody in the Senate would say, I want to appeal that ruling by Justice Roberts, and then they would take a vote. And if 51 senators vote to protect Mitch McConnell or Lindsey Graham or anybody else, then that is the way the decision goes. That's how this works.
Yeah. All right.
So
thank you.
What we're looking for here is 4 honest Republicans throughout. That's what, just so that when you watch the trial, you understand what you're looking for. You're looking for any decision by Judge Roberts, and I just don't think he wants to make any decisions at all. But any decision that he does make, to strike a witness or to call a witness or to admit a piece of evidence or anything, any decision that he makes, which I doubt he will, is subject to an appeal by any senator. And if any senator appeals the ruling of Roberts, then a vote is taken. And if there are 51 votes to uphold his decision, then his decision stands. If there are 51 votes to appeal his decision and reverse his decision, then his decision is reversed. So throughout this whole trial, you are looking for Lamar Alexander, you're looking for Mitt Romney, you're looking for Mike Enzi, because they're, not Mitt Romney, but Enzi and Lamar, they're supposedly institutionalists who care a great deal about the Senate, and they're retiring. And I don't know if they want to shred the Senate in this manner on their way out the freaking door. So keep your eye on at least those two. Then you've got Cory Gardner in Colorado, who has to stand for re-election, and he's on the ballot. You also have Mitch McConnell on the ballot. I don't know, if he's worried about his voters or if he's already, somehow managed to trash your votes in Kentucky, or if he's somehow gotten paid off enough to tell Kentuckians, oh, you're getting a new plant, or Donald Trump just approved this or that, and so you're going to have to, I don't know. Same thing with Lindsey Graham, South Carolina. But you have to keep your eye on Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski. We just need 4 decent Republicans who are bipeds with a spine to vote to have a trial with documents and witnesses. I have never heard of a trial without documents and witnesses. I will tell you, I started telling you and I didn't finish. This is so bizarre. So Mitch McConnell is now threatening to not go by the Clinton rules. I don't know if you remember this or not, and some of you are too young to remember. Others of you just don't remember the Clinton trial because I don't know why. It seems to be a blank memory. Everybody remembers Clinton being impeached. They all remember him wagging his finger at us. Nobody remembers his trial. Well, these are the rules, supposedly, that were employed for the Clinton trial. Well, in the Clinton trial, there was a debate about whether or not to have Monica Lewinsky subjected to sex talk in the Senate. Because remember, Bill Clinton was, impeached for having an affair and lying about it. That's what he was impeached for. This is a national security issue. This is a huge national security issue. And this is a RICO Act. This is a racketeering, influence, corrupt organization that is calling itself, masquerading itself as an administration of the United States. Okay. That said, so they decided not to subject poor little girl, she was 24 years old, to this kind of sexual talk that only Ken Starr was the only witness. He was the only person that testified in the House. The only one. So they're all full of crap when they say, oh, Clinton had more opportunity. Bull. All right. So Ken Starr was the only witness in the House. Well, in the Senate, they were debating, do we have the president testified? Do we have Monica Lewinsky? Who do we? So they agreed to use grand jury testimony that was videotaped and play it for the Senate so they could hear it. Monica Lewinsky on tape, her deposition, Bill Clinton's deposition, and Bill Clinton's grand jury testimony. Video. It was video. Mitch McConnell doesn't want to use video. Not only doesn't he want witnesses, not only doesn't he want any documents, one more document makes it to Congress and you're in the oven. In the oven you go, right? Mitch McConnell doesn't want to be able to show videos of Donald Trump admitting that, what did he want from Zelensky to investigate Biden? He doesn't want videotape of Mick Mulvaney saying, we do this all the time, get used to it. He doesn't want any videotape of the witnesses that did testify in the House to be played. And they're going to have to fight about that. So now you're looking for bigger things like recusals or whatever. Oh my God, we got to fight for video.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
What do you think is the main inaccuracy or the main lie that's being told that you feel like you can correct?
that the president didn't know what was going on. President Trump knew exactly what was going on. He was aware of all of my movements. I wouldn't do anything without the consent of Rudy Giuliani or the president.
In terms of the president and what he has said about you, he said about you and Mr. Fruman, Igor Fruman, I don't know those gentlemen, I don't know about them, I don't know what they do. You're saying that was not a true statement from the president?
He lied.
He lied. Well, there's a new one. Donald Trump lied. Wow, I'm stunned. I'm shocked, right?
What conversations have you had with Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman?
I don't know those gentlemen.
He knew exactly who we were. He knew exactly who I was, especially because I interacted with him at a lot of events.
Did you ever talk to this guy, Les Parnas, or whoever his name is?
You know, it's possible, but I haven't gone through all my phone records. I don't really recall.
Do you know Congressman Devin Nunes?
Yes, I do.
A Justice Department spokesman told Politico yesterday that the president never directly asked Barr to launch any type of investigation into Biden.
Mr. Barr had to have known everything. I mean, it's impossible.
I never discussed the issue of the Bidens with President Zelensky.
Vice President Pence was tasked at that meeting with getting President Zelensky to announce investigations of Joe Biden specifically.
Yes.
Oh! Rico, that's everybody. And you know what's really sickening? Just as a little point of to show you where to pay attention to the lying that's being done to you in your own home, in your own bedroom, in your own living room, in your own kitchen. Oh, my God. Oh,
for God's sake.
Sean Hannity knows Lev Parnas because every time Rudy Giuliani was on Fox News, Lev Parnas was sitting in the studio. So for him to sit there and go, you know this guy Les Parnas, whoever he is, he knew him too. Everybody is lying to you on that fake news channel. Everyone is lying to you from the administration. Bill Barr hasn't said one word. You know what's really interesting? Ukraine finally opened up an investigation into, something that the American people might care about. And that is into the stalking and the threatening of Marie Yovanovitch. They opened up an investigation today into all of the threatening behavior that was, sent her way to disparage her, to scare her, to intimidate her, to drive her out of Ukraine. This is amazing.
We just got a statement from the Interior Ministry of Ukraine saying they are opening a criminal investigation into the possible surveillance of Ambassador Yovanovitch. Quite interesting. I'm actually getting a lot of this right now. I'll read it to you, parts of the statement. They said that they're basing all this on the materials that were made public by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Obviously, all those text messages and similar communications that were published over the past 24 hours. And then there's a key part of the statement that I want to read to you. It says, Ukraine's position is not to interfere in the domestic affairs of the United States of America. However, the published references cited by the media contain a possible violation of the law of Ukraine and the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, which protects the rights of a diplomat on the territory of a foreign country.
Whoops. Now you got yourself an investigation in Ukraine. These people are so dirty and Donald Trump just sat in the Oval again today, just denied knowing Parnas again.
Well, I don't know him. I don't know Parnas other than I guess I had pictures taken, which I do with thousands of people, including people today that I didn't meet, but just met him. I don't know him at all. Don't know what he's about. Don't know where he comes from. Know nothing about him. I can only tell you this thing is a big hoax. It's a big hoax. We call it, this is the current hoax. We've gone through the Russian witch hunt. We've gone through a lot of them from probably before I came down the escalator, but certainly since I came down the escalator, you take a look at what's happened. And in the meantime, our country, it doesn't matter what he's trying to probably make a deal for himself. I don't even know who this man is, other than I guess he attended fundraisers, so I take a picture with him. I'm in a room, I take pictures with people. I take thousands and thousands of pictures with people all the time. Thousands during the course of a year. Oftentimes I'll be taking a picture with somebody. I'll say, I wonder what newspaper that one's going to appear in. No, I don't know him. Perhaps he's a fine man. Perhaps he's not. I know nothing about him. But I can tell you this.
More than just taking pictures with the president. He says that
I don't know him. I don't believe I've ever spoken to him.
On the phone with Giuliani, and he said,
I don't believe I've ever spoken to him. I meet thousands of people. I meet thousands and thousands of people as president. I take thousands of pictures, and I do it openly and I do it gladly. And then if I have a picture where I'm standing with somebody at a fundraiser, like I believe I saw a picture with this man, but I don't know him. I had never had a conversation that I remember with him.
So
certainly, let me just tell you, you just have to take a look at the polls. Quiet. You just have to take a look at the pictures. You just have to take a look at the polls. You see, I don't need anybody's help. We're doing phenomenally well. The economy is the best it's ever been. We've never had an economy like this in history. We just made the 2 best trade deals in the history of our country. We are doing well. I don't need the help of a man that I never met before, other than perhaps taking a picture at a fundraiser or something, if that's where we stand.
This letter that you gave to the House, the first line in it, which is a letter from Rudy Giuliani to President-elect Zelensky, says, I am private counsel to President Donald J. Trump. Just to be precise, I represent him as a citizen, not as President of the United States. This is quite common under American law. Duties and privileges of a president and private citizen are not the same. So he is making a very clear point that he's not representing the interests of the United States writ large, of American national security. He's representing the interests of Donald J. Trump.
That was always the point.
That was always made.
That was always clear. He always made it clear that he doesn't represent wherever we went. He said, I don't represent the government. I represent the President of the United States.
So anything Rudy Giuliani wanted the government of Ukraine to do, that wasn't official U.S. policy. That was a personal benefit to the President of the United States.
Well, you know, when I was doing it, I thought it was all in the same. But obviously now, as I could see with the situation the way it is, I mean, it was strictly for him. But again, I thought he was our leader. He's the chief. He's the president. And it was all about 2020 to make sure he had another 4 years. And
look at the polls.
But that's how you personally viewed it, that this is about 2020 to help him get the next 4 years.
That was the way everybody viewed it. I mean, that was the most important thing, is for him to stay on for another 4 years and keep the fight going. I mean, there was no other reason for doing it.
The administration says, and Jim Jordan in Congress and a lot of the president's defenders in Congress say, the president was deeply concerned about corruption in Ukraine.
Like I said, I'm not going to go into personal attacks on anybody here, but they all know. They go home at night. They all have a conscience. I've been there when they liked him, when they didn't like him, when they talk behind his back, when they agree with him and disagree with him. And to see the things that they're doing now and just blindly I mean, it's a sham. It's a shame. And
they know the real story.
Absolutely. They all know. They were all a part. I mean, they all know.
Did the president care about corruption in Ukraine?
I mean, you'd have to ask him. But as far as I know, the only thing we cared about, and we were the team, was to get Zelensky or Poroshenko or somebody to make a press release, an announcement into the Biden investigation.
I don't know him. Maybe he's a client of Rudy's. I don't know. Meanwhile, Victoria Tensing, she's got voicemails that she's calling him, and she goes to see Bill Barr about getting Firtash off the hook. Can you get him off the hook one more for old time's sake? I can't do it, Sally. I can't do it.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
You love President Trump.
I loved him. I mean, when the FBI came to my house to raid it, my wife felt embarrassed because they said I had a shrine to him.
There's an expression, okay? This we should print on T-shirts. I love Donald Trump. When the FBI came to my house, I had a shrine to him. We should make T-shirts like that. Listen to this. I mean, this is just so sick. You love Donald Trump. I love Donald Trump. I loved him. My wife was embarrassed because when the FBI came to my house, I had a shrine to him.
You loved President Trump. You
loved him. I mean, when the FBI came to my house to raid him, my wife felt embarrassed because they said I had a shrine to him. I mean, I had pictures all over. I mean, I idolized him. I mean, I thought he was the savior.
Did you think you were friends?
Absolutely. I mean, again, I went from being a top donor, from being at all the events where we would just socialize, to becoming a close friend of Rudy Giuliani's, to eventually becoming his ally and his asset on the ground in Ukraine.
The president has said, when you were arrested, the president of the United States said he didn't know you.
I don't know those gentlemen. Now, it's possible I have a picture with them because I have a picture with everybody. I don't know them.
The truth is out now, thank God. Yesterday was a big day for us. I thank God every day. I was worried that that day is not going to come. I thought they were going to shut me up, make me look like the scapegoat, and try to blame me for stuff that I wasn't done. But with God's help and the great legal team that I have besides me, we were able to get the information out, and now it's out there. So I welcome him to say that even more. Every time he says that, I'll show him another picture. He's lying.
Oh, every time he says it, I'll show him another picture. I had a shrine to him in my house, you see. There are a million pictures, not of just Donald Trump and Lev Parnas, not of just Rudy Giuliani. Well, there's videos of Rudy Giuliani and Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman in Paris, in Madrid, all over the world, on private airplanes. But there are pictures of Lev Parnas with Donald Trump in small gatherings, in large gatherings, in medium gatherings, with Ivanka Trump, with Eric Trump, with, and he's the smart one, right? With Junior, and there are text messages asking Junior to retweet John Solomon's ridiculous articles from Lev Parnas. I mean, everybody knows this dude. He is the asset on the ground in Paris, in Madrid, in Ukraine. Giuliani goes to Poland. I mean, all of that. Pence goes to Poland. I don't know him. I don't know him. I just want everyone who is a member of Cult 45 to understand that there will come a day when you will deny knowing Donald Trump. And you will be embarrassed by your shrine to him. Jim in Massachusetts.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. That was the funniest thing I've heard in about a week.
What?
Just now.
What?
The fellow who was speaking, was that Parnas?
Yes, that's Lev Parnas. When the FBI...
Oh, man.
I loved him when the FBI came to my house. I had a shrine. That should be on a T-shirt, really.
I know.
Oh,
I just barely stopped laughing when you picked up the phone. That was just hysterical.
It was.
And doesn't it feel like we're trapped in a really long episode of The Untouchables?
Yes.
Remember that show?
Or The Bourne Identity, or any of those crazy movies.
Yeah.
The Firm,
anything that really has to
Devil's
do with,
Advocate, it's all the same thing.
Anything that's crawling with gangsters.
Gangsta.
Yeah. Gangsta.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. In the end, there will be a RICO Act indictment.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good talking to you.
Oh, well, thank you. That's all you call for. Okay. So, in the end, the president will not be the president forever. Although I know that there are some people out there that, A, want us to give up democracy so he can be. Those are the people that have the shrine that will be very embarrassed when the FBI come to their house. But, 2, he will not be president forever, for real. And when that day comes, he will be indicted, and it will be a RICO Act indictment, because it will be an indictment of the entire administration. It will be an indictment of Mick Mulvaney. It will be an indictment of Bill Barr. It will be an indictment of Mike Pence and Sondland and Volcker and Giuliani. One can only hope and pray Hannity and Ingram and Mark Levin, obviously Victoria Tensing, Joe DeGeneva, they're going to have to meet the bar of justice too. I mean, this is just crazy. This is so off the hook, the amount of scheming and dirt and deal making on behalf of mobsters, Russian ones, Russian freaking mobsters. This is wild. Wild. I pulled a little clip of Victoria Tensing and Joe DeGeneva literally projecting on Sean Hannity's show. Now, I just want you to remember, I could have pulled a whole bunch of Rudy's. Rudy, every time Rudy was on Fox News, Lev Parnas was sitting there with him in the studio. That's so sick. And then Sean sits there and goes, did you know this Les Parnas, whatever his name is? I mean, to get in these buildings, because I've been in these buildings, obviously. I used to work in the same building MSNBC is next door to the Clear Channel building on 6th Avenue, and across the street is the Fox News building. And, of course, I used to do Alan Combs' show every once in a while, so I'd go into the Fox News building. And there are a multitude of pictures, probably, going back to MySpace days, of me standing in front of the Fox building flipping the bird. Because in that one building are all the lies. Yeah, in that one building is Fox News, the Wall Street Journal, and the New York Post. Rupert Murdoch's holdings, all of them. On the second floor, that's where what's his name, Roger Ailes, and his raping went on the second floor. I mean, that whole building, it reeks of evil. It just does. And to get in there, you have to show ID. You have to be on a list. You have to be a guest that was put on a list, and then you're given a pass to go in. So there are records of whether or not Les Parnas was ever in that building, in that studio. See what I mean? And they lied to your face every single night. So here's Joe DeGeneva and Victoria Tensing saying that the whole State Department is owned by George Soros and Biden is part of this, just smearing, Marie Yovanovitch.
Joe Biden shook down the Ukrainian government. It's very simple. It's not complicated. And they lied about Viktor Shokin being corrupt. And Joe Biden's son's lawyers for Burisma then come in after Mr. Shokin is fired and apologize from records obtained from that law firm to Mr. Shokin and his representatives for having lied about him. This was a setup. And what we're now seeing is the Democratic Party trying to cover that up, and therefore you have the whistleblower in the White House come forward who actually knows nothing and has created a document with the help of lawyers from other people. This whistleblower needs to go to prison. He doesn't need to be feted. He needs to go to prison.
Sean,
Victoria.
I want to jump in here, too, and just on this false statements. How did that work? U.S. and other people made false statements about him? Yeah, that was George Soros-funded NGOs who were also in bed with the State Department.
Clear. Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
So after certain instances, Trump was supposed to meet him, President Trump was supposed to meet Zelensky in Poland himself. But then he used the excuse of the hurricane, but it wasn't because of the hurricane, it was because he was angry that Zelensky still didn't make any attempt or effort to make any announcement before he was going to meet him. And he
How do you know that was an excuse and that wasn't the real reason?
Because I spoke to Rudy. Rudy would talk to me. We spoke about this every day. I mean, everything that was going on was discussed between me, Victoria, Rudy, the team.
Victoria.
So President Trump is supposed to go. He decides not to go. Vice President Pence will go instead.
He sends him instead, yeah. And basically, he was supposed to go there and get it straightened out that Zelensky was supposed to make another announcement. And that didn't happen. And that's when Secretary Bolton went over there, and I think he has a lot to say. I'm not going to talk on this, but I think he's a key witness to his conversation with Zelensky and when he came back and why he left or got fired or however you want to look at that.
No witnesses. Here's Anderson Cooper following up on the Pence, wouldn't attend issue.
You told the top official in the Zelensky inner circle that if they did not announce an investigation of the Bidens immediately and get rid of some folks around Zelensky who they believed were opposed to President Trump, that there wouldn't be any aid and Vice President Pence would not even come to the inauguration.
Correct.
And what happened? What did they say?
I called Rudy, told him that I don't think there's gonna be an announcement, and he said, okay, they'll see.
They'll see.
They'll see.
And what happened the next day?
I got called and said that they got a call from the embassy. They found out that Pence is not going to be there. He got canceled. They said that there was a scheduling problem or something.
The day after you delivered that message.
Correct, on the 13th. Right, on the 30th. It was a Monday, the 13th. And then after that, like I think on the 16th or the 15th, I don't remember the exact dates, they had them because they were flipping out what to do. They didn't want to be embarrassed. They didn't know if anybody at all was going to show up, but they knew Pence wasn't coming, Trump wasn't coming.
How did you have the authority to say the Vice President of the United States will not attend the inauguration if you don't do what I say?
I mean, that's what I was told to do.
Who told you to do that?
Rudy Giuliani.
All right, everybody. There's more. Part 2 of Lev Parnas's interview with Rachel is tonight. We haven't even heard all of it. And one of the things that she asked him last night, which really stuck out to me, was whether or not there's more. Is there more? Is this everything? And he said, no, there's more.
Not everything was released publicly. Some was held back. But in terms of what we've seen publicly, does it all look authentic to you? Does any of it seem to be doctored? Is it all what you were expecting to see in terms of what you handed over?
Yes. Absolutely.
Are you still putting together more information to give Congress, or do you essentially feel that the deadline is passed now that this information is going to the Senate?
No, we're going to continue making productions as we get materials from the Southern District and anything that we could possibly continue to find on our own through the cloud or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. We're going to continue to provide things until we're told not to.
Until somebody tells us not to. And of course, when he says the Southern District, he's saying he had to go to the court. That was the lawyer for Lev Parnas, Mr. Bondi, and he's saying that we couldn't release before because the court has jurisdiction over this evidence, chain of evidence. It has a whole procedure attached to it so that it's not tainted when it comes into court. So they had to go to the court to ask the court, could they release the evidence that was provided to the court that is trying Lev Parnas on a campaign finance violation. And the court finally signed off on, yes, you can release these documents. And as much as the court allowed to be released so far, there's more. Andrew I don't know where you are.
I'm in Oklahoma City, which is basically ground zero for the Bible-thumping red meters.
Well, it's more like, what is that place up north? Lawton, Oklahoma. That's ground zero.
Yeah. This is basically the capital of GOP rule where they do the same tax cut fetish for the rich. Uh-huh. And then, of course, cut $1 billion out of education and roads, and they keep voting for them. It's really insane.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to just mention to you that really it was surreal for me to see, the Bible community come so strong for the Republican Party. Then I'm watching all of them raise their hand on the right side of the aisle in the Senate, taking an oath before God not to be partial. I was like, put your hands down. Okay, don't even pretend. Because if you're swearing, are you expecting to go to hell? I mean, I don't get it.
No, listen, I think this has everything to do with my uterus. I'm just saying. I really do.
I did want to make one point to you that I thought was pretty amazing. I was having a discussion with a Trump fan just the other day, and I said, but, this is a guy that grabs women inappropriately, brags about it, has been proven to be robbing from charity, pays hush money to hookers while he's cheating on wife number 3, and he goes, oh, well, we know he's evil. We're pretty much expecting him to go to hell, but God often uses evil men to do his work. That's what we're up against.
So
that's another level.
So if Satan comes back, they will support him because He came from heaven and fell. I don't even understand them anymore. Here's a guy who, you had people trying to better themselves. You had people trying to go back to school. They believe real estate might be an answer for that. They paid $36,000 a piece to this guy. $36,000. It's more than a lot of people make in a year. And he defrauded them. You're right. He defrauded wounded warriors. He is prohibited from ever owning a charity, ever being in charge of a charity or on a board of a charity. And his children, too, prohibited. Why?
I mean, really, and, you know, the thing I was trying to weigh out in my mind is, could Trump, you know, even in these discussions I've had with the folks here in Oklahoma, I said, you know, you have to look back at somebody's character to figure out what's the likelihood that they might do something corrupt once they get into a different position in life, like president.
It's a lot of power. It's a lot of power for these evangelicals to give to the devil. Do you know? It is an awful lot of power to give to Satan.
Yeah.
So I don't know when they switch sides, but I'm not down with it. I just can't go there with them. You know, I mean, that's like saying, well, I know Ted Bundy's going to hell, but he's so cute.
Let me write him in prison. See if he'll marry me.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you one quick question.
Hurry up.
I did hear you say that once Trump leaves office, whether that's in 2024, provided
or sooner,
he wins again, or 2020, if we can get smart and run Bernie,
he'll be indicted.
But I did want to ask.
Yes, he'll be indicted.
I did want to ask you about.
I'm trying. I'll try.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
All right, everybody, here's a flashback. This is Rudy's version of what happened.
The Ukrainians came to me. I didn't go to them. The Ukrainians came to me and said...
When did they first come to you?
November of 2016, they first came to me and they said, we have shocking evidence that the collusion that they claim happened in Russia, which didn't happen, happened in the Ukraine, and it happened with Hillary Clinton. George Soros was behind it. George Soros' company was funding it.
But you accept now that that's not true.
I accept that it is true. I can prove it. There are affidavits to prove that they were colluding with the Ukrainians, conspiring with the Ukrainians. There's a specific person in the DNC who was designated to get this information. There are 5 Ukrainian witnesses under oath saying it that are online. And if you had any regard for equal justice under the law, you would be looking for those. Well, let me ask the following question to anybody at home.
Okay.
If I change the names of Joe Biden and Hunter Biden to Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr., 8 million from Ukraine while under investigation, 1.5 billion from China while negotiating with China. Would I be sitting here? George, please let me finish my sentence.
But you just made.
I know it's a damaging sentence.
The 1.5 billion is simply not
true.
It is simply true.
It is not true.
How do you know it's not true? Have you seen the documents?
We've seen what the fund that you're talking about was set up. Hunter Biden was on the advisory board. He wasn't an investor until 2017, and there's no evidence that they've gotten $1.5 billion.
There's evidence that they got $1 billion directly from China, specific date, 12 days after they returned from a trip to China. There's evidence that another 500 million went in, and there are 3 partners, Rosemont Seneca, that's Hunter Biden, and the stepson of the Secretary of State.
Yeah, that is not true. There are no documents that show that. In fact, what George Stephanopoulos tries to disabuse Rudy of saying again in public is how much Joe Biden, Hunter Biden made. He was an advisor to a fund that was investing in China, and he got, I think, $400,000 together total for that fund and got 10% of what he raised. So you do the math, okay? That's how much Hunter Biden walked out of China with. This is all a lie. Everything that they've ever said is a lie. Parnas is with Giuliani in every freaking city on this globe. There are text messages. There are phone messages. There are voicemails, Victoria, and they're all saying, oh, Soros, George Soros, it's a Jewish cabal. the Jews control the world. I mean, they're just so sick. It's incredible. Well, I got to tell you that now, Lev Parnas said, let him keep saying that he doesn't know me. And every time he says he doesn't know me, I'll release another picture. I'll release another picture of us together. Well, he just did that. Is there audio on this? No. Okay, great. Because we'll get flagged for using some really bad disco music that they play at Mar-a-Lago. But here's what, Parnas's lawyer just released. If you are listening, you won't hear anything. But what I'm showing you is Mar-a-Lago. There's Lev Parnas introducing Donald Trump to somebody. And, they're all this, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people standing there at Mar-a-Lago, where to even get in there is $100,000. This is Donald Trump's, hey, I don't want any visitors logs. I don't want anybody from the Secret Service saying who's coming and who's going. These are the people, by the way, who knew that we were going to take out Soleimani before the embassies around the world, the State Department, Mike Pompeo, no warning went out to our embassies that they were targets of Iran's. That Iran was targeting our embassies, when he said he had an imminent threat that was targeting, at least 4 embassies. Yeah, these 4 embassies were whoever they were. They didn't get any warning. They didn't get any. But apparently, the members of Donald Trump's little, girl haters boys club, whatever that is at Mar-a-Lago, where you have to pay $200,000 now to get in, they all knew. They all know. 4 people have talked to the press and said it's really weird that they didn't notify the embassies, because we all knew Donald Trump was walking around Mar-a-Lago over Christmas, and he was saying something really big's going to happen in Iran. Something you'll see, something really big. And he started telling people that we were targeting somebody, a human being, and they all knew. No warnings were out. And you know what's really creepy? To this day. And now you have all this text messaging about surveilling Marie Yovanovitch and whether or not, they were going to smear. She's a George Soros plant and all this stuff that was said on TV, everything about. Where's Mike Pompeo, who said, I would always defend my State Department employees? Where is he? Why didn't a warning go out to the embassies? The 4 embassies that were imminently threatened. Why hasn't he said anything? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't send the message. He hasn't said anything. And then the Marie Yovanovitch thing, obviously, she was intimidated. She testified that she felt intimidated. She testified that at 1 o'clock in the morning, they told her, you need to get out of Ukraine now. Ukraine has just opened up an investigation into the intimidation and the threats that were leveled against her while she was representing the United States as our ambassador to Ukraine on Ukrainian soil, which is a violation of their law and a violation of conventions to which we are signatories that guarantee the safety of diplomats. This is why, New Yorkers know DPL plates, diplomat plates. These license plates infuriate us because they're allowed to park wherever they want. They can park in front of a fire hydrant. Nobody's allowed to mess a hair on their head. Nobody's allowed to give them any stress or a ticket, even not even a warning. No. Diplomats are completely protected from harassment, from law enforcement, you name it, they're excused. So now Ukraine has opened up an investigation into the intimidation of Marie Yovanovitch. This is where Victoria Tensing went on national TV and said the whole State Department is run by George Soros. It's all George Soros. George Soros, he owns the State Department. Rudy Giuliani, this is all George Soros. The Ukrainians came to me because of George Soros. This is so sick and twisted and bizarre. And this whole cabal. And now we find out Bill Barr was in on it. Mike Pence was in on it. Obviously, we knew Mulvaney was in on it because Mulvaney, he freaking confessed on the TV. Right? This was it.
We knew that money either had to go out the door by the end of September or we had to have a really, really good reason not to do it. And that was the legality of the issue.
But to be clear, what you just described is a quid pro quo. It is funding will not flow unless the investigation into the Democratic server happens as well.
We do that all the time.
That's called a confession, everybody. That's what that is. Here's Ambassador Sondland.
These emails show that the leadership
of the State Department, the National Security Council, and the White House were all informed about the Ukraine efforts from May 23, 2019, until the security aid was released on September 11, 2019. I will quote from some of those messages with you shortly. Fourth, as I testified previously, Mr. Giuliani's requests were a quid pro quo for arranging a White House visit for President Zelensky. Mr. Giuliani demanded that Ukraine make a public statement announcing the investigations of the 2016 election, DNC server, and Burisma.
Thank you.
Mr. Giuliani was expressing the desires of the President of the United States, and we knew these investigations were important to the President.
There's emails from him. Everybody's got emails. There's emails, there's documents, there's text messages, Sondland, Volker, back and forth. Are you saying that all aid is predicated on announcing this investigation? Yes, we're saying all aid. Well, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. There's emails, there's text messages, there's there's phone calls, there's testimony. For God's sake, how in the world are these Republicans going to sit there and lie to the American people in the most Trumpian way? I mean, they're really going to have to ratchet up the lying. Now, Mitch McConnell's the world heavyweight champion bull crap. I hate America, America last. I don't trust the unwashed masses. I think all the elites, the entrenched power like me, we know best. We know better than the unwashed masses. I know better than people of Kentucky what's good for the people of Kentucky. You know, don't you worry about this. We're going to not let another piece of evidence darken our door. No evidence, no witnesses, no videotape testimony, no nothing. How in the... And Lev Parnas said last night, you know, when he was asked about Jim Jordan and all these creatures from the Freedom Crackers group, the Nunezes, the Jim Jordans, the Ratcliffes, the Mark Meadows, the Kevin McCarthy, he said they go home, they have a conscience. They all knew too. And I'm sitting in the studio at Fox News every time Rudy Giuliani is there. Remember that.